So today is December, I think it's December 8th, maybe December 7th, 2024. So this is where I'm at. Uh, I think I'm having a like a shrink session. Kind of like going through the ideas of what it would be like to be in a car. And I've got the vehicle running, but to be in a vehicle in the back and just listening to, you know, what I know about a turbo versus what a turbo can tell me. You know what I mean? As far as visuals, uh, just looking at it, what is good with it, what is bad for it, what is not, what does it do, what does it not do, does it free spin, does it not free spin, can you move the wastegate and things of that nature, is it clean, is it dirty, things of that nature. But this is where I am. I mean, I have a jack, a bunch of tools, a bike, and an engine. Engine's ready to go. Starts up, has carb exhaust. I have a gas tank. I changed the ignition coil, and it starts up like nothing. Brand new. Changed the oil. So, excuse me, I thought I would just sit here and have a conversation with this turbo. It looks like it's supposed to be a Volkswagen Audi. I can see here is like an Audi symbol or like a Volkswagen symbol. So I imagine this is a German turbo. It's got a K here. But I did some research. It says it's for a 1.8 liter Audi Volkswagen turbo. Either Passat or like a Jetta. So I'm not exactly sure as far as numbers with this thing. Although I would imagine it would probably be able to get me from, like 115 to maybe 180, maybe 200 horsepower, depending on your intercooler setup, if you have an intercooler setup or not. But what I was saying is that I thought I would just sit here and have a conversation and think, Mr. Turbo, what can you tell me? How do you feel? What exactly is going through your mind? I understand you're meant to take a lot of pressure. You're meant to make a lot of air move from one place to another in a very rapid and or very quick motion, or you're supposed to displace a lot of air quickly. Now I don't know what the maximum pressure this is going to be able to take and or put out. Especially because you see it has the stock wastegate here. So this opens up to allow the air to escape straight through the exhaust instead of it building up and spooling the intercooler. I'm sorry, instead of it spooling for air to go to the intercooler. Right, if I'm not mistaken. It just dumps straight out to the atmosphere. So, it's like a shrink section, you know what I mean? Like how do you feel? What do you think we can accomplish in the future? I mean, I have a small engine there, but I think the turbo is almost the size of the engine. In a comparison. And you could look at the turbo, and you can see the engine in the background. They're almost the same size. Now, I know this is not the cleanest. It's not the most humane. Although I do have water. So I do wash my hands, brush my teeth. But, I mean, think about it. How does it feel to just be mashed on? To just people just use the throttle pressurize it, get at the maximum amount of smiles it can, or maximum amount of smiles you can out of this little component. Think about it. This thing can make or break your whole day. It can make you happy. It can make things go from, wow, this took forever, to holy shit, that was quick. But think about it, man. It's just a turbo. It has many applications, although the idea is to get the item, right? Even if we thought about it like, even if you think about it like the megabit, right? The file. We have to get the file. But it's a turbo, so you figure you're going to have air pressurized on the hot side. Then you're going to have cold air coming out on the cold side. Whether you run an intercooler or you don't run an intercooler. Now, I also seen videos where people put a carburetor on the front instead of putting an intercooler. Now I understand that, how I see how that would work, because it's going to get atomized. The fuel is going to get way more atomized in a turbo with a carb or a carburetor turbo, but however it's described. But the only thing I can see being a problem is, if the fuel or if the gasket ever leaks, then you got gas going through the exhaust side, and then obviously where the heat is at, you can cause a fire. Which would be the only thing I could think of, like I'm not trying to say, trying to be weird, but in a realistic sense, you put a carburetor here, the fuel is going to go through, it's going to spin, and it's going to come out this way, right? So you figure as the fuel goes in, spins, and comes out this way, it's going to go, you're going to have this pointed directly to where it goes into the engine. Right? So you're going to have your inlet port to here. Then the gas and air mixture goes into the combustion chamber. And you get smiles. But still, that still brings me back to my point that if there is a leak in between the turbo cold side and hot side, wouldn't it cause a fire? But there are many mysteries with a turbo. It's not a very mysterious component. Although there are a lot of questions when it comes to a vehicle that you're looking at that you want to put forced induction. You understand? It's a turbo. You have to have. Does the turbo take oil? Does it take coolant? Is it electronic? Is it vacuum? There's too many setups on a turbo. This is an okay size. Now imagine there are turbos that are much larger and turbos that are much smaller. But still, the idea remains the same. Mr. Turbo, how do you feel? What kind of terrains have you been through? Have you seen your maximum power output? Are you a daily driven turbo? Turbo, these are the things we want to know. We have to understand. It's all pressure and air pressure and fuel and smiles and just going the distance. Like I said, it's not a mystery component, although there are many questions. There's so many questions. So, uh, the way I got uh, the way I got this turbo was a person asked me to replace it for a turbo for him on a vehicle, because this turbo does have minor shaft play. It's not like a whole lot, but the shaft play is present. So they replaced it with a newer turbo. So I asked the person if I can keep this turbo since it's still mostly there. I can remove it, replace it, and have a fully functioning turbo. But just think about it. This is not like 5 pounds. This is a little heavy. This got some weight to it. That's got to be maybe. That has to be. Man, that's got to be at least 20 pounds. That's got to be at least 20, 25 pounds. Think about it. That's a big girl. Do you really want to put that in your car? We're talking 25 pounds here. You understand? What could you put in your car that weighs 25 pounds? That helps and or benefits when it comes to driving. You gotta remember, man, it's movement of air. 25 pounds of weight. That's actual weight. But I don't think this thing could put 25 pounds of air pressure. I could see maybe, if I had to give you a guess just by looking at it without any information off the top of my head, my best guess would be this is probably like a turbo that's able to do 6 to maybe 18 pounds. Maybe 16 pounds. 18 pounds is probably pushing it. But it's not small. It's not freakishly large. So it's a pretty good size. You understand? So, like I said, there's so many mysteries. There's so many questions that come along with a turbo component. Although, still, the desire to have forced induction, it does sound rather, soothing to the ears. That just driving down the road and all you hear is a whistle is, very pleasing. It's, remember, we're listening to vehicles run, and then it has noises. So now it's making noises with the turbo. It's making noises with the exhaust. You understand? These are acquired notes, if you will. You understand? You have to be able to get to this air pressure to make this noise. You understand? That's the stuff that becomes very, very, like you have to put some thought into it. You understand? I'm not just going off just to talk about a turbo to talk about a turbo. I'm going to use this thing, but just look at it. You understand? It's like a moment of clarity. You understand? We're here looking at a turbo. You understand? Not everybody's doing this at the same time. Not everybody wants to look at a turbo, but still. You understand? These things are very fun. You understand? You go down the road with a car that has forced induction, whether it's front wheel drive, rear wheel drive, all wheel drive, 6x6, or an 18-wheeler. Who cares? The fact is that it's a turbo and a turbo application. You understand? So that makes it fun. All I can think about is a whistle. You understand? Like, it's just gonna be whistling down the road. You're gonna look at the car and you're gonna be like, where is that noise coming from? Why? What is that? Turbo.